Okay, thanks. Hi, everyone. A bit of pressure being the first one after lunch. We're here with SocietyWorks. I'm Sally. This is Matthew, we've been invited to share a little case study on some of the work we've been doing with Buckinghamshire Council and KaarbonTech to really improve the reporting experience for members of the public when they're reporting problems to Buckinghamshire using our FixMyStreet Pro service, which is a digital service, a reporting tool for reporting things like potholes and broken street lights and trees. But for today, we're going to focus specifically on drainage issues. So when members of the public are reporting those using Buckinghamshire's instance of FixMyStreet Pro, and the data for which is held in the KaarbonTech system. So we're going to take you through that data flow, how that works, what that looks like for members of the public, like you and me, if we're making those reports, what that looks like for Buckinghamshire, and how it all fits together. So I'll give you a bit of context, kind of set the scene for you on behalf of Buckinghamshire, and then I'll hand over to Matthew, who will take you through more of the actual data flow, which you definitely don't want me to explain to you. Is it gonna work?
Oh, thanks. My fault. Sorry.
Oh, okay. Yeah, perfect. So a bit of sorry, go on.
Try that again.
Yeah, got it. Okay, perfect. So a bit of background. If you've never heard of SocietyWorks, where we create digital services for local government and the wider public sector as well. And the common theme among everything we do is we're very citizen focused. So we're very all about usability for citizens and how they trying to kind of remove those obstacles that we've all faced when you're trying to report a pothole or you're trying to report, a blocked drain or a fallen tree, or you want to make an application for something, and it's all different. Every system is different, and there's not kind of that really kind of user-friendly experience. So we try and do that, and we work very collaboratively with councils to do that, and Buckinghamshire being one of them. They get very involved in our roadmap, very similar to what Mark was saying about KaarbonTech. So we're very similar in that way, and we are part of My Society. So we're owned by My Society, which is a civic technology charity. We've been around since 2003, and we are behind some very well-loved civic services in the UK. So you might have heard of the likes of What Do They Know and Write to Them, and They Work for You, and of course FixMyStreet. FixMyStreet is the national service where anyone can make any report, regardless of whether you know which council or highways agency is responsible for it. So you could go make a report about a pothole right now, and you wouldn't have to know which council it needs to be sent to. And FixMyStreet Pro kind of grew organically out of that. Councils liked using it. So we wanted to give them the chance to use it as their own. So it's branded to look like it's their website, and it fits very seamlessly with their existing website and existing services. And it integrates with whatever back-end systems the council wants to use. So there's no kind of rekeying, and it removes that manual intervention. And it really enhances the experience because that data can then be shared in a two-way flow. So you as well as a citizen telling you about a problem, you can also tell them what's happening next with it. And it makes it a bit more of a fulfilling experience. I talked about, we're all about that citizen journey and making it, more user-friendly for them. We want to make it a more satisfying experience. If you've gone to the trouble of making a report, you want to know what's happening next. You don't just want to send that report out into the ether and you never hear back about what happens. So that's a kind of brief introduction to FixMyStreet Pro, and Buckinghamshire have been using FixMyStreet Pro since 2018 now, so it's been in place for a few years, and they've been really integral to it. They've kind of, when I talked about we work collaboratively, we really do. That's not just marketing speak, and Buckinghamshire have been very involved in building on that roadmap with us. And they implemented it because they wanted to improve the user journey and that customer experience. And it helps them do that in a number of ways. It uses geolocations, you get nice accurate reports. You can upload photos with your report. So you can, instead of just saying there's a pothole on this road, you can take a picture of it, sends it with that report. And it integrates. And with that integration in place, it means that you can also send that information back, like I said. So just to give you a bit of an idea of the landscape at Buckinghamshire. So they've got FixMyStreet Pro on the front end. That's the reporting tool. That's what citizens are using. It's connected into Confirm. This is their new logo. I didn't know they had a new logo until the last minute. So they've got Confirm in that's their back office environment, and also KaarbonTech, where of course they're storing all of their drainage information. And Buckinghamshire have kind of we like to say they kind of set the golden standard for pushing FixMyStreet Pro's flexibility and testing it and really seeing what can we do with these integrations. Because, I'll give you an idea. This is an example of Buckinghamshire's FixMyStreet Pro. I've just randomly selected a location on the map. So Buckingham, I'll explain these pins on the map to you. So the yellow ones represent reports that have been made by citizens. The green ones represent reports that have been fixed, and the little orange ones represent some scheduled maintenance works. And this is the sort of stuff that can be pulled in using an asset layer. And we can do that because Buckinghamshire uses those integrations really wisely. And those orange pins work really neatly in that if you were to go and try and report a pothole, for example, or a drain, and they've already said, actually, this drain is going to be fixed soon. It would just say it's okay. You don't need to make this report. It's going to be fixed soon anyway. So nice way to kind of reduce that contact volume. And asset layers can be added for, within reason, anything that you want using FixMyStreet Pro. All depends on the data, like Mark was saying earlier. It depends on the data that's stored in your systems and the systems that you're integrating with. So obviously, with KaarbonTech, we've seen already just how much data there is and how you can use it. So for example, if you've dropped a pin here and you want to report the drainage issue, this is what you would see. So very similar to what you saw earlier, all of those individual gullies represented on the map. And in this case, they're represented by these little yellow pins on the map. And these are initially pulled in using a WFS endpoint that was hosted by us and supplied through a shapefile from Buckinghamshire. And this is a lot of information for citizens to understand, so we don't display it straight away. It depends on which category it relates to. So you've clicked, there's a blocked drain, you're seeing all of these individual assets. And it was about a year ago now, Buckinghamshire came to us and said, okay, we've got these assets, we're using KaarbonTech, we've got all this amazing data, can we display some of this back to the citizen? So, we're using it in this really cool way. Can we kind of show this on the front end as well without adding any complexity to that user journey? And you're seeing a preview of it here. This gully was last cleaned on the 4th of March. So the challenge then was to understand, well, okay, how are we going to do this and why do we want to do it? And obviously for Buckinghamshire, they want to show what they're doing. We're giving more information. We're giving more of a snapshot of what's happening in this area, which reduces that contact volume. And it also, again, improves that experience for the citizen. They can see that, okay, do I need to make this report? No. And just generally, you feel like you're being given more information. Nothing's being hidden from you. You're aware of what's going on. So to get started, we had to kind of, work out that challenge of how are we going to get FixMyStreet Pro to work with Confirm and KaarbonTech without adding that complexity to the journey and make sure that citizens still enjoy that user experience that they've gotten used to. So about May last year, I think it was, we held a technical workshop with KaarbonTech and Buckinghamshire, and we kind of set out the objectives that we wanted to get from it. So I've listed them up here. We wanted to fetch the last clean date for each gully that's held within KaarbonTech. Pull that through to FixMyStreet, display it on the map in a way that isn't overbearing, but it looks nice and it's part of the process. It has to be specific to the gully. You can't just have an overriding date for everything, but also uniform if some of them are cleaned on a similar day or a similar schedule. We got together, we worked on it. Matthew was very involved in it, hence why I'm going to hand over to him to take you through how that data flow actually ended up coming to be. Do you want me to carry on with this? Okay, I'll go on mute.
Yeah. A bit louder. Okay. Yes, this is a very simple overview of how FixMyStreet Pro talks to the various services involved in what Sally's just demonstrated to you. So there's a few moving parts, but from the point of view of KaarbonTech, it's sort of quite straightforward in that FixMyStreet talks via our own proxy server to KaarbonTech server to when the right category is picked on the map, as Sally demonstrated. It fetches the junctions and the inspections from KaarbonTech server to display them on the map, including the last clean date that Buckinghamshire were after. Then we take the identity of the drain as well, which because the important thing is the shared identifier. So KaarbonTech store the confirms asset identifier in its own system. So then we can get that out, and then when we feed that through to Buckinghamshire into the report into their confirm for someone to then investigate and look at, that we can include that information that Buckinghamshire have asked for. The Open 301 adapter is sort of our little thing. So we talk to many different backends, as Sally said, like confirm and so on. So we have there is an international standard for reporting that we sort of try to utilise as much as possible, so that things can be consistent among the different backends. And then the data flows both ways, in that when the inspection confirm gets updated by a member of staff going to look at it or whatever, then we can pull that update out back in FixMyStreet to display to the user the progress of their report and what happened there. And then the Buckinghamshire, as Sally said, we used to fetch the drain information from our own server with a copy of Buckinghamshire's data, but now we talk directly to KaarbonTech, so it's always live and up to date, and not have to have any manual intervention to have live information. We still get our road, like whether things are road or not, from Buckinghamshire, again for the same reasons. But it'd be good in the future to use more information from KaarbonTech if Buckinghamshire want to display or make things or feed things directly into that, if that's the way that Buckinghamshire would like to do things. Okay, yeah. So this is just like the same thing. So it's just what it looks like to the user when they're reporting a block drain. They see the last clean date, and they can use that information to decide whether to continue or not, or to include that in the report. And it'd be great to include more information about other things that are possible that would be helpful to the user to decide about making their report. It's just another example, I think, of the same thing.
I've realised I've switched myself off. Can you hear me again? We're not going to feed back off each other. Yeah, that was just a separate example. But yeah, like Matthew said, the kind of capabilities of it, the flexibility of it means that all of that data that we were shown earlier could absolutely also be fed into this workflow to show to the citizen. This is a similar thing that we've already got in that I mentioned earlier, you can display those scheduled roadworks on the map. So if you were to try and make a report about something that the council already knows this needs fixing. So for example, we've got roadworks are scheduled near this location. You may not need to report your issue, and you can explain a bit more than that. And it basically, as much information as you want to share, you can do in a nice, simple way. And again, it's all connected, so there's no manual intervention behind this. It's all connected to your systems. And then this is the functionality to, if you were interested in what happens next, you could subscribe to a report. So, for example, if you were to try to report a block drain, but you've seen, oh, actually, this is on a schedule to be cleaned soon, so I don't need to report this. If you were interested in it, you could subscribe to an existing report instead of re-reporting it. I think, does that cover the functionality pretty much?
Yeah.
So that's a kind of whistle-stop tour of how it works. Obviously, we're kind of speaking on behalf of Buckinghamshire here, but we'll do our best to fill in any blanks if you do have any questions about how it works. And I believe our colleague Amelia has dropped some leaflets on the tables if you do have anything else. But yeah.
One of the things...
Oh, sorry.
One of the things that I was going to pick up, if you go back to your slide of the the way they're interacting. So most people assume, because confirm is going to be a central part of this, everything's got to go through confirm. We're going to talk to confirm. Confirm's going to talk to FixMyStreet. FixMyStreet's going to talk to confirm. It doesn't need to be like that. So there was a bottleneck in this workshop when we had that conversation that confirm could not push the right information to FixMyStreet. So restriction at confirm just couldn't do it. So, but we couldn't bypass confirm on that development. So, and excuse me, Doug, for stealing some of your thunder there, but it's just because you've got a diagram up there. By just still feeding the information ourselves direct to FixMyStreet meant that the public had the latest bit of information possible, but confirm still got the information that it needed. So it was a very simple process of understanding what a system needs at a given time. Not just this needs to be integrated, but what does confirm need? What are you getting out of it? What's the point of it? How regularly does it need? How much is a refresh? And that was a real simple overcome that I think just fixed the problem, rather than people go, well, confirm doesn't do it. Sorry, well, let's walk away from this point.
Yeah, and it's been really, really beneficial. And obviously we focus a lot on the citizen experience, but Buckinghamshire, at the last check-in with them, have now, where reports have been made using one of those assets, they have reduced their duplicates down to about 0.5% because it's so accurate now on those individual assets and the way that data all feeds together. So yeah, it's been a really interesting project to work on. And I mean, all morning we've looked at how much data there is, and it has been nice to see how we can work together and feed that back, and make it benefit citizens as well. Any questions?
How are you managing, where you've got your assets, that's fine, they can click on an asset and what are you doing with regards to, or how have you overcome where there isn't actually an asset in the database? So it could be, you know, we're not naive to believe that 100% of all these things are always 100% correct. So it's the option then for actually there is an asset that needs adding to it, and how does that report to it? And also, what has been put in place, or have you had any instances where people are trying to report assets that aren't the council's? You know, we regularly get a gully in a back street, for example, or a private street and things like that.
Yeah, I'll do that one. So on your first point, yeah, it depends upon what the council have asked for, but in certain cases, in some categories, you can still go and make a report as long as their back end can handle it. You can make a report without assigning it to an asset. I know Peterborough, for example, their back end, can't remember what it is now, but it doesn't matter. Their back end does require an asset, but they set up a special category for you to report the same sort of thing, but there isn't an asset shown on the map to let you carry on with that sort of thing. So yeah, we're sort of constrained a bit by the back ends in that sense, because I think like some of them won't accept a report without a signed asset. Confirms okay, but I think there are some where it's not so good. But yeah, we have ways around that. And then on your second point, yes, if the data's there, certainly with Oxfordshire, we've just been working on, they've just moved their street lighting to alloy, from Mayrise, I think it was. So as part of that, they've now got whether the street lights are private street lights or public street lights as part of the assets now. So we query that at the point when we, so when you show the assets, we can like mark them differently. Some councils have asked for like lights different colour or different size, different things, and then when you click it, it can tell you that this is a private street light. Ideally, if the information's available, tell them who to contact instead if there's a problem with that street light, and try and redirect them there. In some cases that data is not available, so we just tell the user that the council can't accept the report because there's nothing they can do about it. But yeah, again, as with earlier, the more data we've got, the more good things we can do with it.
So on the buck system, can they plot a gully? So, or do they have to select a gully?
I think bucks you can. I can't remember offhand actually whether, but yeah, you'd have to check.
It would just be interesting to see that data come through. How many times, how many reports have been plotted that were not against a gully, and were therefore needed to be investigated. It might be simply, I'm off. It might just be that, you know, they didn't get the concept of clicking on a dot, as might be the case, or it might be an area for creation of an inventory. But it's certainly, it's a good point. Silence, I guess that's it.
One more
Oh,
question.
one more.
On the information that was displayed on the screen showing when the gully was last cleaned, does it also display or pull through information from KaarbonTech to show that yes, we cleaned it, but sorry lads, it still doesn't work? So in actual fact, showing that it was cleaned 2 months ago, but if it's still defective and therefore is still blocked, their complaint would be still valid. Does it pull that information through?
I can't remember the exact logic. I think there's something, it does check some KaarbonTech data about whether it was actually cleaned or not. As to what it's actually showing, it's like whatever Bucks asked us to do. But it certainly could do that if that was a requirement, because as long as the data's there.
It's annoyingly, it's been held back a bit. So the technology is there, but there's generally a fear of putting information in the public domain. There's an obvious fear all round. We have our own public interface, and we're always stripping it back to say, well, don't show this or do show that. Well, this could actually entice more problems than it's worth. So that's generally the restriction that you're facing here, rather than the tech.
But yeah, the simple answer is it could show it if you wanted to, and it can also display updates from Buckinghamshire, so they could sort of control how much information you wanted to share. So you don't have to give them the full cleaning information, you could just give them an update to say an inspector went out and looked at it, and something will happen in, I don't know, X amount of time without committing too closely and causing more problems.
Can I just ask another question? Is there any other authorities using that setup?
Oh, Graham's asked without a microphone. There's a criteria.
Yeah, you give me mic now, that's done, sorry. Is there any other authorities using that setup, and what integration costs? Obviously you've got 2 systems there with them integrations, so I know it's quite excessive when you do want to set up that kind of functionality, so I'm just wondering what kind of cost does that do with Clean Streets?
You'll know if there's any other integrations set up like that.
I think we've got 3. I think 3 councils. We do some sort of KaarbonTech drain integration. I can't remember who the other 2 are now besides Bucks. Oxfordshire might be one of them as well, I think.
Oxfordshire's on the journey. I don't know the third. They're
And
on
then-
the journey.
And then in terms of costs, I think you get like a number of integrations within within a council when they come to us for FixMyStreet Pro or whatever.
Yeah.
There's a number of integrations that are included within that. And then we work with the council for whatever's best for whatever they wish to display and show.
Yes. So
Sorry, come here.
oh, sorry, I was going to say, I mean, Amelia is definitely the one to talk to about this. She knows it all back to front. But yeah, it's all packaged up depending on what you need, because obviously every council is different. So a smaller council isn't going to need a huge amount of integrations and a huge amount of asset layers. So it just depends on what you need, basically, and it'll flex to whatever you want.
And from our side of things, for the second time today, I'm going to actually be able to say that our side is free. So it doesn't matter. It is a live feed that's already been pushed up that they're piggybacking, so there is no integration cost from our end. Super.
Sorry, just one more.
Oh, sorry.
In terms of the accuracy of the reporting, have Buckinghamshire said that most of their residents are able to identify their asset on that kind of mapping?
Yeah, so when we last caught up, which was quite recently, it was only a couple of months ago, they'd analysed some of their data. I wish I'd been able to share some of it with you, but yeah, they'd reduced, certainly in terms of duplicate reporting, it had dropped by 99.5%. So, and when they analysed the reports, that citizens were, members of the public were selecting those specific assets. So rather than just saying, there's a block drain on whatever, Middleton Street or wherever, and it's a bit ambiguous because which drain do you mean? They could take a photo of it and select the asset, take a photo of it, and then you've got that nice package to more easily triage that issue.
And that
provide
was
more context.
that was accurate.
Yeah,
That-
I mean,
yeah.
I'm sure Amelia will agree that they'd probably be happy for us to put you in contact with them if you're interested in knowing more about it.
Most people can't read a map, so trying to find a gully on a mapping layer when they can't read a map or follow an instruction is really impressive.
Yeah.
Yeah, we're doing some work with Buckinghamshire at the moment on, especially with parish councils, to do things with better direction of reports to their responsibility based on where you've click on the map, because I think in Buckinghamshire, if the speed limit is greater than 30 miles an hour, it's the council's it's the county council, no, the unitary council now is a responsibility, whereas if it's under, it needs to go to the parish council to deal with within their area, so we're doing things to do with that.
Can I just ask, when the reports are made, are they all anonymous?
No, that anonymous that's optional. Councils can either say yes, we will allow anonymous reporting. They don't have to. Matthew might be better.
Yeah, so it's great. Again, it's quite flexible. The councils can choose to allow fully anonymous reporting or not, and then the user can choose to be anonymous or not when they're making the report.
And just a supplementary, when authorities have their own online reporting systems, and there's the potential for conflict between a system such as this and that authority's own online reporting system, have you found any issues there? Because there are some experiences whereby FixMyStreet is being used when a council has its own online reporting system, and then there can be challenges, sometimes quite public ones, whereby if the report on FixMyStreet's not been picked up, but the actual authority's online reporting system's being used, things are being dealt with, but clearly the authority doesn't want two feedback loops. So are you noticing any of that type of conflict?
Well, in Buckinghamshire's case, FixMyStreet Pro is their reporting service, so there is no conflict there. And obviously, FixMyStreet is that's part of the charitable side of the organisation, so that runs as the national service. So I think yes, there probably is conflict there if those two aren't working together. But FixMyStreet, I'm sure Matthew could tell you the ins and outs of how it works. We do work with councils to say, well, we want to provide this service because citizens want an easy way to report things without needing to know where to send it, but we'll work with you to send it to a place that works best for you.
Yeah, the thing I mentioned, the Open 301 adapter, there is an international standard for accepting reports, and ideally, any system would accept. They don't, obviously, but ideally, any system would be able to accept reports via that standard, and then that would be an easy way for us to provide a better service that way.